welcome back to Work in Progress with Nicole Engelmann. This is the podcast where I have honest chats with other small business owners, talking about their journey as being a business owner or freelancer and all their challenges and the things they're proud of and the wins. Today I'm joined by Paulina Folaron. Got the name right, yes.
Hi.
Hi. Paulina is now I have to look it up again because the screen just went black.
That's
But
fine.
Paulina is a digital marketing and operations consultant, email marketing specialist, cat mom, and self-proclaimed kitchen witch. That's a mouthful, kitchen witch.
The
How are
most
you this
important
morning?
part.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I'm all good, thank you. All the better for seeing you.
Oh, thank you.
All good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, yeah, thank you. I think we're just starting out, so let's
Mm.
hear why did you run your business? Why did you start your business? What's the reason behind and why
Well,
doing what you do?
I love the question because it's a funny one for me, and I swear I've said this so many times now. Because any podcast I've been on, any episodes, guest or otherwise, that question always comes up. It's a standard solid question of, hey, why do you do what you do? The answer is redundancy. Um, and I say it's funny for me because anytime that comes up, it's actually something that I had to almost take like the charge out of, because for the longest time, that would be my only answer. Oh, I'm in self-employment because I had to make something happen for myself because my fixed term contract job ended, and the employer decided that there wasn't funding for that particular program, even though it was doing well. It was just like a decision very high up, nothing to do with performance, and they were just like, well, I guess that's what it is. The department's being made redundant, and I had about a month's notice, if that. Technically 2 weeks, but we had a feeling, we the team. So how it ended up being is just we just had to make do and sort of think on our feet and find something. So my first thought then was, I'm very, very tired of going through the sort of steps and the loop and the cycle of trying to go through interviews, apply, get chosen, not get chosen, that emotional turmoil as well of going through the interview process, which I have been trying for a little while because, like I said, we did have a bit of an inkling, and I was also playing with, maybe I'll just make the move and find something else myself. And it just wasn't quite working out. Myriad of reasons that can go in an episode on, hey, why interview skills are undertaught and underappreciated. But yeah, it just ended up being that situation where, that's what I mean, I'm using all this language like it just ended up. It happened. I had to think on my feet. That's how it felt at the time. It felt very much like I just have to take things into my own hands and do something that I feel like I can be more in control of, but also maybe shape more myself. Somehow it also feels more safe and more stable, even though I know a lot of people think it's the opposite. Being freelance or having your own business is actually the more unstable, more risky. But, no one's going to fire me. I'd have to fire me. So on that front, so that's essentially what's happened. I basically built my very simple website at the time as a virtual assistant in sort of 24, 48 hours. I spoke to a few people. I was already in Wild, co-working, as you mentioned, we know each other from there. I was already in there, so I reached out to a few people who very graciously offered some wise words of advice and some support and how to find clients and help me out with basics of like a contract and knowing that I'm ticking all the right things. I've got insurance, I've got this, I've got that, and I literally just cracked on from there, which is a bit crazy to recall. And to sum that bit up before it becomes a TED talk. I'm not exactly looking back on that part very fondly, in that way that I didn't like feeling like I have nothing more to why I'm doing what I'm doing, besides I had nothing else on offer at the time. Even though when I share this with people, they sort of go, oh my God, but you make this happen in such a short time and this and that, and sort of within 3 months, I managed to replace my salary with my business. And I know that's, for someone else, that's like, oh my God, that's such a great metric of success. Sure, in that very pragmatic, this is the money and I needed to pay bills way, absolutely. But in all honesty, it took about 2 years plus of being in business to detach myself from that narrative of, I don't exactly know why I'm here. I've got nothing special to offer. I'm just here because somebody decided to make a department redundant. Which is not a really empowered way to go forward, is it? So I worked very hard to get rid of that. And now I know that it's way more than that, obviously. I'm very good at thinking on my feet, sure. I made some decisions that now I think about it have been bubbling away for a while. So they felt spur of the moment, maybe to someone looking from the outside, but I know that they were something that was percolating away at the back of my brain for the longest time. And I had a feeling, really deep feeling in my soul that employment wasn't matching what I was needing potentially. The way I'm built, the way I think, the way I operate, connect with people really suits self-employment as well. The way I state about my own autonomy really suits self-employment. And maybe that was part of the reason why the interviews weren't working out for the other jobs. Somewhere subconsciously, both me and them, we knew that I didn't really want this. It was just a why not? But I didn't really want it. Whereas this, as soon as I got cracking with it, I was like, this is it. It's my jam to be this like solution specialist person, to be connecting the dots between like your vision and your strategy, to be thinking, how can we have your big goal and break it down into these steps that you can have every day or every week or every month? Because that's really taking away the marketing and the operations. That's really my specialty. I've got, I like to say that I've got Tetris brain, so I can see the pieces coming down, and I'm like, how do we make them fit to clear the backlog? That's what I do, and I love that. And that's really why I'm here. Long story short,
I guess
I
that's
mean,
that's what a lot of self-employed or freelancers lack, right? The Tetris brain to see if you do this, that happens. If you don't do that, then this will happen.
hmm,
So
they can hit me up. They'll
yeah.
find my details in the show notes.
So what year are we talking about? When were
So
you
we're
made?
talking, yeah, we're talking 2021 to 2022. Yeah. So I went self-employed, and then a year later I established myself as a limited company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you make the transition or the jump from a VA to now what you're doing now, operations and marketing specialist?
So that only took about 6 months, actually. So once I kicked off, and I kicked off in April because somebody over here has thought, hey, new tax year, let's make sure I register on the first year of the new tax year, because that's how my brain works. Um, So yeah, I registered in April, yeah, 2022. So 2021, I was finishing that contract. Yeah, 2022 is when I officially registered as self-employed. By December, I had rebranded as this solution specialist, as I like to call it. Fancy, I just like the alliteration. But yeah, the operations and digital marketing. And the way I got to it is through doing an absolute myriad of virtual assistant contracts. And I really genuinely, it was like a little challenge that I never said to myself. I just went and got any and every contract I could think of, any and every, type of job, because I was just curious. It was very clear to me that the whole virtual assistant world is so vast and so varied, and in a way interesting in that way, because I felt like so many different people and so many different skill sets can fit into it. And it's, on a slightly different note, also fascinating to me why some people would go, okay, I'm a virtual assistant, and others would then go, oh no, but I'm a digital marketing consultant. Where is that difference and where is that jump? That's a bigger segue on how you charge or what your contract terms are and things like that. But what became apparent to me through doing all the different types of contracts is that I was really enjoying taking initiative and taking charge on more than someone was telling me to do. And I don't just mean, oh, you're such a keenie. Like, of course you went above and beyond. No, no. I mean, someone was saying, oh, could you do these, Canva designs for my Instagram on this? And I would look at that and go, yeah, sure. But I can think of 8 ways to improve them already. And it wasn't my job to improve them. My job was to do what the person was telling me, because that is the relationship we had. And I'm not speaking for all virtual assistants, but that was the relationship we had. That it wasn't so much a taking initiative on, making suggestions. My position was to take that, do it, and come back with it. Of course, I could like make a small tweak or something that I thought was better, but it was definitely that feeling of if I'm calling myself a virtual assistant, it places me in a very particular spot in that dynamic. And it didn't quite feel comfortable. Like I started just naturally picking up bits, educating myself. I was doing a lot of online reading, a lot of courses, a lot of learning on my own business, speaking to a lot of people. My CPD was like off the charts at that point. Whenever I wasn't working, I was reading and I was finding things out. And I don't think I appreciated at first when I started off self-employed, just how much of my previous jobs I'd be bringing in with me. I've got experience in like hospitality, retail, education, and it's all, either in managerial positions from floor staff, but then to managerial positions as well. So there's a lot there that I didn't, I think, appreciate at the time would transfer over. And once that started kicking up, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm actually making suggestions that are like falling really well. What's the opposite of falling flat? Landing well, thank you. Right? I'm making suggestions that are landing really well, that actually are bringing some better results. The clients that I'm going, oh, if you don't mind, I also mocked up this other thing. What do you think of that? I'm just curious for me. Like, this wasn't on your, really defensive. This wasn't on your time, I swear, but I'm just curious. Give me some feedback. That's how I used to be with it. And they would love it, and they would absolutely love it. Like I said, it would bring them better results when they went for it, and it just really got me thinking. Okay, well, maybe if I'm looking at evidence that what I'm proposing works, why am I behaving as if I've literally started from nothing? I haven't. I have years of experience. Just because I was employed doesn't make it irrelevant. So once I embraced that, I was like, okay, it's time. It's time that I'm able to really like step into bigger contracts, charge a bit differently. By that I mean not hourly, but it would be a retainer contract from then on, and open up my services in a different way. So rather than just wait more passively for someone to go, oh, I need an assistant, here's a list of things that I want, and then sit over here going, please, please don't let them be things that I don't like. Take charge of that a little bit better and go, here's the things that I can offer. Are you suiting me? Because that matters just as much. Of course, I want the money. Who doesn't? We all need the money. This is why we've got the businesses. No shame. But, it's not, I'm not just going to sit here and wait for it to fall into my lap and hope that the next person I come across is just the right person that I want. I want to meet that halfway. And the only way that I can do that is by presenting myself the way that is true to I want to attract. That includes, how I talk about myself, how I style myself, how I show up online, the copy on my website, how I speak and connect with people. And if I'm doing that authentically, that is more likely to attract people that I then actually want to, gel with and will work better with. So that whole light bulb came around that time, and then I rebranded.
Yeah. So how did you find, or how do you find being visible, showing parts of yourself to grow your business and attract the right people?
As in the parts of myself that I'm showing? Are you asking me about consistency showing up?
Well, I mean, I guess both, because it's, like sometimes it's people have a persona and they barely show anything that's like personal or private, and others kind of go full in because, or it's halfway. So how did you feel about that?
Honestly, I mean, I know you're filming this, recording this. I'm showing up here. I've not exactly like made myself up or wore something different than I'd wear. This is one of my favorite tops. um, I love showing up the way I am, meaning that, for example, if I were to show up within content, I will show up the way that I actually exist. I wouldn't sort of necessarily make myself up extra unless I'm feeling really drained that day and I'm having a moment like PMS related moment where I just go, I just can't. But to be honest, I probably wouldn't be making content around that week of my life anyway. I'll just be going, well, let's do it when I'm more energetic. Let's do it when I'm feeling more creative. Why, ideally that wouldn't happen then. I enjoy as well. I personally enjoy content when people show up the way they are. I like seeing people's faces. I like seeing them showing their days. I like them showing off more like the B-roll stuff. It's so simple, but it's so effective. And we all, that's, let me try that sentence again. I guess that's the point, that we all like to sort of rubberneck at other people's lives. And when you can do it in a way that's authentic and you can allow people in a way that's authentic for you, it's win-win, isn't it? So that I do really like. The photos on my website, for example, they are from a photo shoot from an actual photographer. Look at that. Shocking, right?
Oh gosh.
A branding photo shoot, which I would recommend everybody. Please get one. Don't just do selfies on your website. It's not 2010. We're done with that, thank you. So they are from that. And while I am like wearing other clothes that aren't just my home trackies, they are still clothes that I would wear places. If that makes sense. Like it's not just a suit that I have never worn anywhere else because I need to look super proper and professional. It's not that's not really my vibe. Yeah, so I do, in short, I really believe in showing up sort of as you are. I have no qualms if people feel the need to do like change their outfit a bit, or do their hair or do their face. If that's what makes you feel more you, especially when it comes to showing up to a public. Let's be honest, we do have people who interact with our content who will probably be more regular viewers and will know them, or we will be aware of them coming up and again. But it's true, you're putting your face out there and it could go absolutely anywhere. So if that's what you need to do to make yourself feel a little bit like safer and in control of that, I'm for it. But only putting out content that never has your face in it or never has any of you and your real life in it, I think that's missing an opportunity, is all. Because it's about connecting with your audience after all. So you do need to show yourself and give yourself somehow, not your most vulnerable moments, but just a bit of honesty about yourself. The actual, where you sit and read a book. What are you actually reading in your leisure time? Don't just show me the non-fiction diary of a CEO book. Nah. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Show me what is the quirky, weird thing you're reading in the evening. I want to see that. Like, it's not going to be relevant to anything else, but it will show me that you have a human side. And I, as a human in business, need to connect to the human in business that you are to work with you business to business. That's my honest to God belief. Like, we need to connect human to human to work business to business. And I can't do that if all I see is just business, 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 business. And you're never showing me the real bits in between the made up bits.
Yeah, or just showing what you think people want to see, or what you
Yes.
think displays how successful or how good you are at your job. I feel that especially sometimes when you see people that preach about like how to make this and this much money and how to sell out your course and blah blah blah. This kind of really almost is toxic. Let's call it what it is. And then you basically only see photo shoot photos, or you only like the hair is always done and they always have the nice clothes on. I don't really know you. I just see a life that you build or pretend to have, that people should aspire to, and that's not really real or makes me want to buy your stuff. Obviously everyone dreams of like making a certain amount of money, but it's again, how do you make it? How do you feel making it? That's almost more important to me than to have it. Because if I feel absolutely shit doing this, or I'm totally burned out and I have that money, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, 100%, Nicole. 100%. You've put it really well.
Yeah, thank you. Have you encountered any challenges that you're kind of, well, building the business or transitioning?
Because it was literally straight after COVID that I started. So if anything, it felt like for me, it was then sort of normalized that I'm just working from my laptop from my bedroom floor because that's how I used to work. So if anything, for me, the biggest challenge was, and I think still remains in a way, is remembering um, that I don't suit the life of being an island, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, any freelancer, introvert or not. I think we are not made to be islands, okay, as human beings. We need to be connecting with people and we need to be seeing people in the flesh, guys, in the flesh. Nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. And if you are someone who has less of that energy, has less of that capacity, either at the moment or in general, because again, introvert, extrovert, ambivert, put yourself on the scale wherever you want, or maybe you fluctuate as the month goes around, because that's the case for me as well. Um, yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work to just sit there and stare at your screen and go, I've seen a person because I've spoken to a person on the screen. Lush as this is, Nicole, I will still have the need to go and see a friend in the flesh, latest by end of day tomorrow.
Yeah.
And see somebody beyond my partner who's going to come home after work that I can connect with and I can be with and my brain can detect there being another physical human being who cares for me and holds a safe space for me near me. That is something we literally, it's like, well, we can put a price on it, I'm sure. We can charge for events and things like that, but ultimately it's priceless and it's absolutely crucial to our mental health. If we've learned anything from the pandemic, and we've learned plenty, thank you very much, some hard lessons, that is one of them, is that we can't actually do very well without human contact in that way. Even if it just means you're walking side by side with a friend to town and back, or, you know, for a dog walk or whatever you've got available, try to make sure that you are hitting that for yourself, that sort of social rest, but also like a mental rest where you can just be around someone who you don't need to mask with, who you can just be a bit vulnerable with if you want to. You don't have to, but you know, the option's there. Sometimes that's enough. Like that little warmth that you feel, knowing that if you needed to have a little cry, or a big one, big ugly cries are my specialty, then you can. But you don't have to. Sometimes that's enough though. But just do that. I'd say that I think that's been my biggest challenge, is that I am someone who's fairly sort of ambi to extrovert. I love talking. Surprise! You've heard me ramble for 20 something minutes now, I think. Um, and I need that. I need that human connection. And in that same way, I need it in business. I work much better when I'm collaborating with people. And I work much better even on my client work when I've done something else totally unrelated. For example, like this episode, or anything else with anyone else, like a separate collaboration with my business. That lights me up enough and fills me up enough that I can just have this new energy that I can then direct into stuff I then end up doing by myself at a laptop, because so much of my work is by myself at my laptop. Begs the question whether that's something I need to address eventually. um, that it's something that, yeah, I need to be really aware of, that it's very easy actually, if I wasn't careful, to just literally spend a week, you know, however many hours a day, just sat at my laptop at home. Someone would go, what are you complaining about? You've got your workspace at home, and you know, you can be with your cats all day, and you don't have to go anywhere else and travel in traffic, and 100%. I'm very grateful for the things I do have. I am. But it doesn't stop the fact that the way that it gets to me when it's been 2 days plus of not seeing another human being beyond on a screen is something that I didn't realize would happen to me, but it is happening to me. So I have to be very careful to make sure that I do leave the house, remind myself to leave the house, and interact with other humans out in the wild. Crazy,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a challenge that we can all be sort of falling into by accident, because we can focus on our work, hyper focus perhaps, we can stress about it, we can fall into the traps of like toxic productivity, and everything else might feel more important than just taking that goddamn 45 minutes and going for a dog walk with a friend. Everything else seems like, no, if I just finish it just quickly, and then I can like hoover quick, and then I'll do the dishwasher, and then I'll all the other things. Before you know it, it's 8 p.m, it's dark, and you're not actually going to go out walking at this time.
Yeah, that's true. It's one of the reasons why, although I have a dedicated desk at home, I'm
Mm.
sitting on at there right now, I actually quite like going to a cafe and just like be surrounded by people and have that
Yes,
noise
same. I love
because
that.
it's
It's one of
different
my sort of
energy.
midway things to do. If I can't actually, meet up with somebody, sometimes I'll just do that. I'll walk. Well, I'm lucky enough that I live in a very small town, so I can walk into my town centre in about 20, 25 minutes. So I take that walk, listen to a podcast or read a book while I'm walking, Beauty and the Beast Belle style, just prancing through the village while I read. That's me. And I end up at a cafe, and yeah, sometimes just the buzz of that. And I won't put headphones in or anything else. I'll just try to take that in a bit. I love that. I absolutely love it. Just
Yeah.
romanticizing my working day a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there's something really interesting and nice about just people watching.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, making up little stories about that. I've always liked that. My mom is like that as well. So it's just like one of those things that if you can't meet anyone because they are all at their job,
Mm,
or they're not even in the same city or town, then you just, do the next best thing and be around people and
I
just
love
get
that.
that energy a bit going as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Is
100%.
is
Yeah,
there
that's
anything?
mhm.
I mean, we talked about a challenge. Now, is there anything that you're really proud of?
Oh my God, I'm still here. Do you know what I mean? It's been what? It's been 4 years now. Limited company. 2 years officially now, just over 2 years. 4 years in self-employment. I don't be like, how am I here? But I'm here. There's a part of me that goes, if I can make it, so many people can make it. Yeah, I think it's that. I think I am quite proud of myself that I'm I'm quite tenacious and I am quite determined. So I know these are things that keep me, these are traits that allow me to carry on. But there's been such a journey on that other and the flip side that not everybody gets to see, which is so much to do with lowering the expectations from myself, counterintuitive as it sounds, but not being quite as hard on myself about things, being a bit kinder, towing the line between structure and organization and staying on top of fucking everything and wearing all the hats, right? And at the same time, giving myself the grace to rest when I need to, to understand my body and my energy as well as I can. And that is a journey. I hate the word, but it's a journey. It is because it's just an ever learning curve. And as we grow and age and all of that changes around us as well. So as soon as you feel like you've learned something, you're like, oh look, the goalpost has moved again. Never mind. So that as it's sort of woolly answer, but I'd say it's that, I'm managing to do this. And I think I am very proud of myself that I'm try that sentence again. Thank you. I'm very proud of myself that I've managed to recognize and honor best as I can that I am a cyclical being and so is my business. And we're talking seasons in the year, my cycle as a menstruating woman as well. And those things add up together, and then other things that happen in life that are out of your control feed into that. And I really try my absolute best. There was something about not being too perfectionist in there, I'm sure, but I try so hard to make sure that I can marry the two and not go insane in the process.
Hmm.
You
I hear
know,
that. I hear
just
that. Yeah.
go, if I don't have that energy, if I can't, if I know that that week or this week, I'm just not going to be at my best in terms of like my cognitive powers. Why would I have a massive new meeting with a new potential client in that week? Why? No. Hey, my next availability is actually from 3 days later. Thanks. I don't need to over explain, but actually, it's going to suit us both. It's going to benefit us both if I honor that seasonality for me as a human, but also in my business as some months are better for money and for projects and for all of that. And some months are genuinely leaner. If I want to take time off, I don't get paid. That's the great situation when you're self employed. So I can sit here and curse about it, or I can try and find a way where this actually gets balanced and makes more sense. So I can take the pressure off for the fact that Christmas is likely to bring very little money because I'll be taking time off, as most of my clients will be taking time off, as an example. But actually, summer was nice and fat, so I can make that last a little bit longer. There's swings and roundabouts, and I mean that not in that, I don't know, sort of defeatist way, because I often hear that being used in that, oh, swings and roundabouts, it is what it is. These thought terminating cliches, not a fan, don't like it. But in that, bring yourself a bit of acceptance and awareness of the bigger picture way. That's been something that I'm still learning, I'm still bringing, but I love it. And I'm very proud that I've not slid back into like ways of an old life that I wouldn't want to live anymore.
Yeah. I mean, talking as someone who's been running her business for 11 years, those ups and downs are always there. And then, like you said, with the goalpost moving, you think you figured it out. Oh, this month is usually always busy. And then the next year, well, that was not busy, and then the next year that's busy again. So you kind of think you figured it out, and then it's moving again. And like I said, you're just adapting. And I do say it is what it is as well. But also more in an accepting way rather than defeating, because it is what it is. So I just deal with it and tackle it when it happens.
With your, Nicole, with your experience of 11 years, incredible, incredible goals. Do you find that it is a matter of you just have to zoom out a little bit more. If you zoom out a little bit more, is there more of a pattern? So, for example, I'll zoom out to a year and go, oh, that's what a year sometimes looks like in terms of these ups and downs, etc. Right? Like feast and famine for money. But then you're like we're saying, absolutely true. So one year will be like that, and another year that goalpost will move. In your experience, if you move out, for example, to 3 years or 5 years, is there again a pattern, or is it just a bit more mayhem?
At the moment, it's a really weird time because there's so much going on in the world that all kind of has influence to that. And I think before COVID, it's like, okay, usually January, February is not that busy, but then it picks up as soon as it gets warmer. And then after COVID, it's 1 year, it's like that. The next year is like that. Like last year, I was super busy beginning of the year, January, February, March. Then this year, dead. Last year, usually like August, September picks up again. Last year, totally quiet. This year, super busy. I have basically been working nonstop since May. But the 4 months before that, dead. And you think you figured it out, and then it's totally different. So I think what you figure out is that there are those times you just don't know when. So okay, when it's down, yeah, I've been here before, but when it's down, it means it goes up again. The same way when I'm up, I'm thinking, yeah, but there might be coming a downtime soon again because I know that's usually what happens. So there is that up and down. You just don't know. You can't pinpoint it's that month or that month. Maybe that comes back in a few years. You never know. But I think at the moment, the last few years or last 5 years, basically, it's just so unpredictable because there's so many other factors that are going on that we don't have any
Yeah,
influence
I
on.
agree with you. Yeah, we haven't talked about that as much, and that can also be too big a segue, understandably. But you're right, from a marketing perspective as well, it's something that I'm seeing a lot, and it's absolutely massive the way that sort of consumer trends and audience trends have changed in a way that completely makes sense. That is way more about building trust first before you can ask them to sell. So selling in a way has become harder. When I say harder, I mean it does just require more work before you can demand that someone hands over their data, let alone their money. Because we have, it's that funny flip side of it's like this. Okay, it's funny because I'll speak to my clients and there's two sides of us. There's us as a consumer, and we'll go, yeah, I'm very aware that someone's trying to steal my data and use it for this. I'm not going to do this. I personally, for example, I'm very careful about how I curate my algorithm on my Instagram. So I've got two Instagrams. I've got a catstagram because I'm a crazy cat lady, proud cat mum, and that is my Instagram profile that is completely private, as in it's just my personal one. And on there is where I go if I want to have a 10-minute scroll to have a little bit of a laugh with funny cat videos and probably Formula One videos. These are the only two things that come up on there. That's where I go. My business Instagram is a wholly separate beast. I don't scroll on there. I show up on there when I show up on there. That's a strategic beast. That's the fun beast, right? And I limit them both anyway because I'm a lot about limiting my digital noise as well. So, we'll be there as consumers going, I'm limiting my digital noise, I'm limiting my notifications, my screen time, my this, my that. I'm so aware of these things. And then we'll come to work, sit at our keyboard and go, I don't understand why people aren't buying. Because they're thinking the same bloody thing. Because they're going, I need to limit my screen time. Because they don't want to be caught in another, clickbaity video. Because they don't want to be caught with another, oh, just give me this and I'll give you how to make 85 grand in 5 seconds. No, you won't. And no, I won't. See you later. If you want to know how your audience is responding and why they're potentially responding by that, like that, a big factor of that, you already know because you're it, because you are already behaving in this way. And I just to clarify, I love all these trends. I live all of that trends, these well-being and mindset changes. I love it. I'm living it. I think it's amazing that I'm seeing, anyway, I hope you agree with me there, Nicole, this massive change in awareness for what is good for us, what isn't good for us, how the internet works, the dangers of what can be faked, critical thinking, how important that is, and how much of a, overlooked skill it's becoming. Petrifying. All these things added together, I think it's interesting. It's just funny sometimes I'll see that clash of me as the consumer and me as the seller, and I'm like, well, I wonder why. This is why, Paulina, because they agree with you, so you need to speak to them in a way that meets them halfway again. So yeah, that's why I'm a big believer in email marketing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And we get into that in the second part a bit more anyway, so that's great. To wrap this part up, I always ask you about what you're proud of. And the next question would be, is there anything you would tell starting out Paulina to do differently or do exactly the way she's done? Is there any kind of advice you would give yourself?
I think the starting out, Paulina, the one from starting up to rebranding, I don't think she necessarily needed to do anything differently. I think I had such a great, like, experimental spirit about me at that time. I'm quite proud of that bit, the fact that I was able to do just sort of so much and be quite flexible with things and be open to a lot of things. I think I'm happy with that. I also knew where to instill boundaries when I got a job that I was like, okay, I've done it and we're done here. I'm never touching that type of job again. I have stuck to that since, and I'm quite proud of that. That I listened to my gut. So maybe not at that point, but since then, I would say uh, maybe a bit more patience, and again a bit more reaching out to people. Too many times am I looking, I'm going to speak for myself, but I'm hoping that every single person listening is going to repeat after me to themselves as I say these words. Too many times am I looking for answers within myself. If I had the flipping answers, Nicole, I would have found them by now. I need to look for answers elsewhere. Too many times have I spent too long, for whatever reason. We can talk about, all sorts of things, imposter syndrome, self-doubt, other pressures that we each have in our heads for our own personal reasons. Too many times I've spent too long sitting there going, no, 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 I can work this out. I will find this answer. I will Google it. I will do whatever. I will find it. Why? How? How would I have this skill? I can't. I don't. It's okay. As soon as I spoke to a person, it was like, here it is. I've got it. My entire, I'll mention it in a bit, but this whole email marketing thing and like a masterclass that I've got on right now, that came about, full credit, because I spoke to my great friend, Chloe Burrows. She was the one who was like, Paulina, you just said the whole thing. You've literally just, as you spoke to me, you've mapped out an entire masterclass and a full funnel. And I went, oh, like it was one of those moments when you go, how? And it's there, but we're not giving ourselves the right space to facilitate it. We're closing ourselves off because still of this, all consuming, all existing pressure that when we show up in a very particular way, in a way that's finished, polished, in a way that looks a particular way. And look, like, we've talked about this, and you'd think that I wouldn't be making errors like that. But of course I am. Less often than I used to. Let's little round of applause for me, right? But I still definitely do that. Thank you very much. I still definitely do that. And this is something that, yeah, I would definitely say, not as proud, but also, yeah, just reach out to people sooner. Don't just sit with it. Don't just sit with it thinking, oh, I'll give myself a few weeks, I'll work it out. You're wasting a few weeks. Speak to a friend. Speak to someone who's a freelancer or business owner friend with a successful business, meaning they've not gone under yet, who you can be vulnerable and honest with. Speak to them and don't listen to employed people when you're starting off being self-employed.
I totally agree. That's the thing. Sometimes it's not even asking for help. It's just like talking and speaking your thoughts and ideas out loud. I literally had that last week where I talked to someone and she's about to launch a membership. She's like, I don't know which platform, blah blah blah. And then she kind of talked about the ups and downs and the pros and cons of each platform. I was like, literally, from what you're just saying, you already know the answer because I could literally hear which thing she was more leaning towards from what she said. I was like, I didn't even say it. You've got the answer already. And she's like, okay, you're right.
I love that. That's what I mean. We are social animals. We need that interaction. We need to hear our thoughts back sometimes. And some of us are more verbal communicators, where I've learned, this is in learning of this year, that I am a verbal processor. I say things out loud and then I go, oh, don't worry, I've worked it out.
Yeah,
Thanks. But
yeah,
I need to
exactly.
send a voice note to a mate, which is, 8 minutes on average. Sorry, Chloe and Gemma. It needs to be that length for me to listen back to it and go, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I've got it.
Yeah,
Thanks though.
exactly.
It's funny. And sometimes you need to send a message, sometimes you need to meet for a coffee and do something different. But don't sit with it by yourself. You're literally, in my opinion, you're just punishing yourself, and you're not going to get a medal for working harder than someone else to achieve that thing. You're not.
Yeah, yeah. And when it can take you, less time as well, just by running it by someone and, maybe they giving you suggestions, then why not take that advice and
I
take
think
that on?
some of that is sorry, I just had that extra thought, so I just want to add it in there before we move on to a different question. It is that myth of meritocracy that's at play. There is that big belief, that we've all heard, and we've all heard generation after generation: work harder, you'll get more. And that is at play. I've noticed that's at play a lot in my head, as this sort of pressure. And that's probably the hardest one of them to shift, because the whole like toxic productivity thing, there's a lot of those aspects that I've managed to separate from myself, and I'm able to catch them as thoughts, scrunch them up and throw them out the window or burn them. I'm able to do a lot of that. But this myth of meritocracy is super interesting, that we do believe, oh, if I could just work a little bit harder, if I just try a little bit more, that's when I'll break through. Nah, none of the ones that are ultra wealthy did it because they just worked a little bit harder. No, it's a combination, apart from ultra privilege, obviously, and generational wealth, putting that aside, but generalizing, it's a combination of those factors and privileges, but also their connections, them speaking out their ideas, being around certain people. And I don't just mean, oh, if you're not around, I don't know, whatever visionary is the biggest one right now, you're not going to make it. Of course you are. But if you're going to isolate yourself from even your friends right now and your fellow business owners, well, then where are you going to go? You can't go anywhere just by yourself, because you're not a flipping island. So this, yeah, let's just remember that it is genuinely such a massive myth that is only tripping us up. Just because you're working that much harder doesn't mean you will proportionately get a better reward. Yes, some work is required, sometimes a lot, but you don't have all the skills, and that's okay. You are a very unique blend of skills and traits. You can be of help like this to another friend in business. They can be of that help to you. And you get to benefit, both of you get to benefit in your business if you do that.
Yeah, definitely. And there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire or whatever, self-made in general, because you can never do it alone. Even if you just have an accountant, you're already not being, it's
Yes.
as simple as that. But yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to end the first part. Yay.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So for everyone listening, stay tuned. In a couple of days, there will be a second part where we talk about more operations and marketing, email marketing with Paulina. And have a lovely day and talk to you soon, guys. Thanks, Paulina.
Thank you.